Greetings, everybody from across the interweb. It is wonderful to have you back once again. It is I, Precious Ken, the Duchess, and with me is
Katy May.
And today we also have a special guest that we're really excited about. The members of Crying Vessel. Can you guys introduce yourselves really quick and tell me what you do in the band?
Hello, this is Slade.
You're introducing me.
Yeah, you're gonna introduce me.
I'll introduce
nice.
him. That's better. I think that's better, actually.
Let's do this.
Yeah,
This is
no,
Slade.
it works.
Slade is the lead singer and guitar player of Crying Vessel and does a lot of the producing and the music with me. That's Slade, pretty much.
Long story short. Yeah, and this is Basil, and he's the drummer and video guy and the whole multimedia aspect. You'll notice a lot with the Crying Vessel stuff. We have a lot of like imagery. Like we're really into cinematography and all that.
Yeah.
So he's the brains behind the visual side too. So it's a pretty cool match, you know.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and it's so important nowadays. Like the visual aspect has got to be a part of your music. You got to start thinking wider and bigger that way, because that's how it's done. I was talking with Katy. We like the fact that it's just Basil, like Madonna. Like that's just it. That's the whole. It's just Basil. For the edge.
He is kind of like Madonna. A bit of a diva. No.
Hey, there's no shame in that. Madonna is a fucking queen, and I will hear nothing else.
It's true. It's true. It's amazing, actually, how she aged so well until you see the hands. It's like, I mean, she's still 20 years old everywhere. And then when you see her hands holding the microphone, though, you can tell her age just by the hands.
It's the same thing with Weird Al.
All right, I think it's only fair that we do spend some time talking about Crying Vessel, not just Madonna. Although that's a good sideline. Maybe we'll come back to it. But why don't we start out? I want to hear from you guys. Tell me the story about how this partnership came together, because you were kind of just talking about whether it's the visual recording components and the audio recording components. Both you guys are producers kind of at heart in that sense. How did this partnership come together, and how did that turn into the band Crying Vessel?
Well, so it's actually interesting. I was producing a band at the studio, and he was the video guy for that band, doing behind the scenes video. I was doing a lot of trip hop vibes back then, like dark trip hop, kind of Massive Attack meets Gary Newman, like this kind of thing. A little bit wavy, a little bit trip hop. Yeah. More down tempo and stuff. And he loves trip hop, and he heard the Crying Vessel stuff back then. He was like, you know, if you ever need a drummer. And what's crazy is when he said that, I always had, and I even used to rehearse with a drummer, and I always had in my mind to only be two people. Always. I've always thought Crying Vessel, two people. Not a full band, and doing this very cutting edge modern thing that is a huge wall of sound for live, but a live drummer, guitar, vocals, the rest, you know, backtracked and just being this huge wall with two people. I go, I mean, I've been thinking about toying around with the idea of going live.
And I showed you like some shitty recordings of me playing like the drums on an old band back in the days.
Like a funk band or something. I was like, all right, we can try this out. Like, it's not as much funk as, you know, this trip hop dark wave thing, but yeah. So we went and we got together. First, actually, we did the Killing Time music video.
Yeah,
that was first. Before. So I brought him on first to do the Killing Time music video. Then that's when he was showing me the drums and stuff, and he was like, "Hey, you know, I'm a drummer. You know, love it."
Yeah, I mean, I think during that time, and even like starting at the studio, recording this other band, and then doing this music video, I think we really became good friends.
We did, absolutely.
And there was this match, this friendship evolved, and it was like always super tight. And
and it was our love for actually darker music and stuff. That's the funny thing. Exactly. And then, you know, with the aesthetics of dark music and dark aesthetics for the Killing Time video in the forest and 3 a.m. working together for 10 hours in a freezing cold Swiss mountain forest at 3 a.m. in a February. You know, you get to know someone really well that way. Yeah. And then he was like, okay, man, so the live thing again. I was like, okay, let's do a rehearsal.
I think I was always a bit pushing you actually to take this project live. I mean, you told me, you know, I always like did this kind of in my back room, like just for kind of myself, for fun. And that was like, no, man, this is too nice. Like this needs to go out there. and we
He
need to
did
bring
push
this,
for it, yeah.
we need to bring this live.
So, I mean, we sat down, though, for 2 hours at the first rehearsal. And, I mean, I put him on a click, and I was blown away. And the thing is, it was crazy, is he could listen to the track and immediately step in and become the drums.
Thank you.
I never even told him that. I just tell him he's shit all the time, and it makes him do better, you know? No.
Like, I am such a strong proponent of that in this day and age, there are a few things more valuable to a musician and a songwriter than a drummer who can play to a click track. Like, that is worth its weight in gold and then some. We are blessed to have one ourselves, and when you find one, you hold on to them and never let them go.
Absolutely. You make him start getting mohawks too, and you know.
Actually, I had the mohawk before.
He did have the mohawk.
When he started playing Crying Vessel, I had this blonde mohawk.
He did have blonde mohawk. He fit the part, you know. A lot of people say we look kind of like brothers. I look like the older, uglier brother. He looks like the sexy, younger vampire, you know. But yeah, it works.
You brought up the Killing Time video, and then after that, the album A Beautiful Curse. And that was my introduction to you guys. And it's such a dark and sinister dark wave project. Had a lot of heavy tones on it. And then you came out with a couple singles and Illusions EP last year. To me, I mean, yes, it still has some of that flavor, but it was such a drastic change. I think in the interview, or not the interview, but the review that I did for you guys of it, I said that I was excited that you were bringing the old razzle dazzle back to goth. You know, that it had a very David Bowie, like Brian Ferry, kind of almost like glam flavor mixed along with the dark wave. And I thought it was a beautiful evolution and change. So you guys are getting ready to drop a new album on Cleopatra. That's very, very exciting. We're stoked to hear about that. Tell me, what's going to be the evolution and change that's going to happen for this new album? Because I feel like that's important now. You set the standard that you're taking it another step each time. What's the new step?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing was the first album. It was entirely just me. He wasn't in the picture yet. So of course, working together changed a lot to do with the music too. Even just having someone to reflect off of. You know, he's not a guitarist, but even just sitting there working on a guitar line and not being in the studio by myself and being able to turn to him and say, well, what would you be doing on the drums here? And him going, why don't you try this on the guitar? It was a whole new world for me. That's where Illusions started to evolve into what it was. And it was a lot more live Bowie feeling like that. Yeah. Another thing is I kept having people saying, why are you pushing your voice away so much? And on the album of A Beautiful Curse, it was a lot more effects, a little bit more toony, a little bit more just, you know, flavored. And then I came really and put it just there. No tuning, no, just there. And that's the razzle dazzle, I think.
The razzmatazz, the old razzmatazz.
Yeah. And I think together we ended up finding this sound. And what's crazy is through the new album, I single-handedly can say, I mean, I've been producing for 20 years, but I can single-handedly say it's my most accomplished feeling album. It feels like it's everything I've tried to get with Crying Vessel since the start. And together we are able to find that. It's live drums all over the thing for what he would be doing. It's what we did together with all the synth movements and the way it progresses. It's also conceptualized. I'm really big into conceptual albums back in the 70s, 80s and stuff that my dad raised me on. So I said, yeah, it's 2020. Yeah, everyone's doing these single things. Screw that. We're going to make it so there's some singles on there, of course, but it's going to be flowing from start to end as a conceptual album. And it is. Yeah. The CD even has a hidden song. It's a hidden track on just the CD that ties together the entire story of the album with a voiceover horror storyteller that we hired on to do this with more like a film score underneath. So the entire thing is conceptualized from the art cover to that. The evolutionary thing about it is literally within the tracks themselves, you can hear that we matured as a band. I think we really got our chops up. Me as an engineer too, I stepped back and said, screw it with this modern digital high-end sounding stuff and went full analog. So it's super warm and big soundstage. So that's also an evolutionary thing. And I mean, your input, of course, I mean, you, even when we were working on the tracks, I mean, visually, we already were talking.
When bands are writing, I always like to ask, especially with you guys, I mean, the songs have kind of a very cinematic feel. Do you like write to the picture that you have in your head of this story? or do you have the song come out and sing the lyric, and then later do you pose the video to it? What's kind of your process angle for how you bring that conceptualization together?
I mean, there's two things. The video is like something that is like has its own part. Of course, we're talking about it before. I'm a bit more the mood finder. I don't know if this like is said correctly, but I think I take the track as a whole, try to pulp the mood of the track, and then find a visual thing that like goes along with the track. It's true.
And I mean, the way he does that is amazing. You find the summary of what it is emotionally that I didn't even realize.
Of course, will then like go back to the lyrics, but actually this always comes later, actually.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's once again, it's an evolving like thing. Sometimes we do though. We have the ideas. Like I have the lyrics written down. I come up with the melody, and then one big difference is we've been writing from a storytelling point of view on this album. So the lyric content is extremely metaphorical. It's very allegorical. It has like 2 or 3 different meanings on every track. That's very in depth. You can read it as a pop track. I mean, really, you can hear it as a pop track, like on The Abyss, the first single. You can hear it as a pop track and go, okay, yeah, it's very catchy, very, okay, you know, the single word thing. But if you look further, and when you see the video and stuff, you start seeing the actual atmosphere that this has to do with. And it's very sci-fi, actually. It's very taken away emotionally and physically from this world. You know, and that's something that we did together because we conceptualized visually, how are these lyrics coming about to be a storytelling thing? And how are we going to represent that live on stage when we have our visuals? How are we going to represent that for the fans when they see the music video? And how are we going to represent that through the speakers when you're not seeing anything? So it's like painting with frequencies, you know, and then we're able to tie it all together with the visual world with what we do. And what he's able to do with videos is just, I mean, that's really what ties it together. It's like the cherry on top.
So you have concept albums often, and you like to bring those concepts to more mediums. That says to me that you are well read and maybe have seen a lot of classic titles and movies. What kinds of things do you pull inspiration from when you're coming up with your albums? Are there any specific authors that do the things that you're talking about by speaking metaphorically and there's multiple layers?
I'm obsessed with Dante Alighieri. Actually, I'm obsessed with Dante Alighieri and the Divine Comedy. Since I started writing lyrics and poetry, I've been into this allegorical stanza thing. You can hear me repeat a lot in the way that the lyrics are read too, repeating words instead of rhyming. It's a near rhyme or just repeating of words to drive home the fact. You know, this is a poetic choice and not just a pop vocal choice, you know. It's going against that. And him, I mean, with his video, you watch so many movies and stuff, and you watch avant-garde stuff, right?
I do, but I think it's, for example, for The Abyss, it's, I mean, I'm a bit younger than you, not that much, but I think I'm always been watching like, actually this is bullshit, sorry. Sorry for it. No, but I think for The Abyss, what really was giving me the visual part, was inspiring me, sorry, I had to find this word, is Stranger Things, Netflix series. Yeah, I think visually it has a lot to, like, a lot of this world as well. Copying is not a shame. It's not really copying though, because really like a whole new thing and it goes in a completely different direction. But I think the mood is taken from that world. But of course, as a cameraman, I'm very very influenced by the greatest of all, Roger Deakins, who's doing a lot of great movies, and that's always like in the back of my head, of course.
Yeah, and I just love horror. Like the funny thing is he actually doesn't like horror.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm obsessed with horror. I mean, I live by it every day, and he always has to tame my horror down a little bit. You know, it gets a little. It's just like you're getting a little too dark there, and like we need to be able to apply this to a broad people that might like it, and not just like 5 people that are like, oh man. Like
the point is, this is funny. My mom always told me everything you touch gets so dark, like video wise, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, this is just like the way I'm doing, right?
You avoid horror, but you are horror. I mean,
I barely saw any horror classics, and I'm gonna out myself because that's what I'm doing. But this doesn't really mean that I'm not able to reproduce it. I guess I was a very like sensible child when I grew up, and this like kind of went into my adulthood. I never really.
Yeah. But it is true. He's really into dark stuff without being. And I always tell him like, hey man, really, you probably love horror. You just never really watched it, you know? So,
you need to go have a Suspiria watch party with you tonight. With the Goblin music and Suspiria.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I mean, and the funny thing is, I think the first review ever of the EP with Killing Time on it, there's a magazine that said it was Spooktronica. That's what they called it. It's a spooky horror music.
I like that.
And you know, and that's what's cool. And he was able to find that realm in the visual aspect. And on the Abyss, though, it is like the Stranger Things, but it also has a very tongue-in-cheek, I guess, 80s thing about it in our own way. we literally like got matching jean jackets and everything, like super 80s, and totally purposely didn't want to wear black in this, and like want to say, okay, we're gonna go tongue-in-cheek a bit comedic, you know. Yeah. Depeche Mode and all them back in the day used to do a lot of tongue-in-cheek videos, you know. I think it's No Good by Depeche Mode when he's like a karaoke singer and stuff. I love that, you know. There should be some humor. When the music's so serious, you have to have a little bit of this, you know, a little kind of floaty happiness that can happen, you know.
But actually, I mean, yeah, the Abyss is not that dark. I mean, it is kind of in its own way. So before like we're gonna set the image out in the world that like we don't do dark music videos. Tomorrow I'm doing a music video again with a small team. This music video is gonna be set in a slaughterhouse, in an abandoned slaughterhouse that I found, and it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I went to location scout this. When I came out, I was just like completely nauseous.
But he doesn't like horror.
And I'm gonna so yeah, this is gonna like come out after I did this. So now I'm gonna try to do a very dark music video tomorrow.
I was gonna say that the Abyss music video reminded me a lot of like John Carpenter movies, and I felt like he always had that type of dark and light sensibility where there was a little bit of comedy on top, but just like
absolutely
lightly sprinkled.
I think so. And I mean, I went on purpose because I mean, like I said, he doesn't watch horror, but I felt that the whole time we were filming. I was like, hell yeah, you know, the little horror fan of me thought that was, you know. Rachel
would never forgive me if I didn't ask you, what are you doing with Dean Garcia of Curve?
That's a long story, actually.
Inquiring shoegaze fans want to know.
Yeah, and it's funny because I never really did shoegaze, but I'm super tied into that scene, like hugely. I even ran a label with Dean called XD Records back in the day, and it was a shoegaze label. And we had Bloody Knives, we had, what was it called, Michael Dance. We were working with, what's their name from Texas, St. Marie Records a lot.
Yep, St. Marie.
Huge. Yeah, we were working with them a lot. Yeah, so Dean and I, though, the history, this is really cool, actually. I was 18 years old. I went to school for audio a little bit in Seattle. And then I came back to Kansas, where I grew up. I was doing this really ambient Brian Eno stuff on MySpace. Dean, I didn't even know who he was, but he discovered me on MySpace. We started talking back and forth. We started a project called The Chronologic that was like very underworld. It sounded like underworld. Dean actually sang on it, and he played bass, and then we made all the music together. And I was 18, 19 years old then, and then he decided to move me to London. So he flew me to London, put me up in a house with Chris McCormack from Gary Newman. Also, Rob Holiday was living there with us for a while from Marilyn Manson and Prodigy. Yeah. Carl Barat from the Libertines was there a lot. So I got like put into the industry, like just smack. I mean, I was, 19, 20 years old and just like wham.
Sure.
And then while I was there, I got to go to Abbey Roads. That's where I got my love for mastering music. And that was all because of Dean. So Dean kind of became more or less my music father. He was like a mentor, but he was literally like if my dad was ever a musician, that's why I was raised, but my dad's a music lover. So I was raised into music that way. But if my father was to be a musician in the industry, that would have been Dean Foley. When I was living there, I felt like his son. I was 19, 20 years old, and he has a son and daughter, Rose Berlin, which I've done a lot of tracks with her, even with Crying Vessel. Dean's actually on every album until A Beautiful Curse. He's on every Crying Vessel album. He's done about 8 or 9 songs with me on that. And we've probably written a good 40 or 50 songs together over the years.
Wow.
But anyhow, just recently we've been working again together. He's with his Space Echo stuff. He's doing 1 EP per month, which is just fantastic. And it's with his daughter, Rose Berlin. We're releasing it through my side label called Zoe Records for distribution. But yeah, so I mean, that's the story with Dean. And I mean, like I said, it's been now 20 then. So yeah, it's been 15 years almost of working together, and we still do. That's kind of unheard of, like to just continue through so many projects and still be able to continue doing stuff.
And I mean, just benefiting from the experience and talent of a guy of that level, I mean, just has to go a long way towards, even like you said, you guys moved in kind of different musical directions. You were never like into the shoegaze thing away, but I mean, that just has to have an enormous impact in terms of just how you view music and songwriting in the industry. So
absolutely. And my view on the industry as a whole, because I heard a lot of behind the scenes major label drama, all this kind of stuff, and now it's been 15 years I've been full-time as a record producer and stuff, and that's thanks to Dean, really. I mean, it allowed me to know kind of, okay, don't make this decision that way, because we know how that ends up. But he trained me a lot on that without even realizing, just with little one-liners like saying, oh, fuck it, mate. It's like a cancer when you're a musician. It's something you have to do, and you're going to have it for the rest of your life. Little things like that. That's Dean. And, those little one-liners is the stuff that's like
those moments. Yeah.
Yeah, man. And I mean, it's stuck with me for life. That's stuff that kept me going and where I am. So
I'm going to digress a little bit from that. I wanted to circle back just to like the origins and stuff and ask you how you came up with the name Crying Vessel, and if that has any literary reference behind it.
Yeah, it's actually exactly what I was talking about, the lyrics being kind of allegorical and metaphorical. I saw the words such as vessel to mean so many things. I mean, of course, people think like something that carries something. So carry emotion, carry something like crying, which is one of the most intriguing. You cry when you laugh, you cry when you're sad. I mean, this is something that is triggered in our mind chemically and physically to make you react in a certain way and represent something. And the vessel part is to carry this emotion, or it can also be literally the gory horror side of a blood vessel breaking in the eye. Your eyes get very red when you're crying, the crying vessel. This is kind of what I went for. I from the beginning, I wanted this kind of poetic sense at all times. So someone can like listen and hear or know the name and, what does it mean? Of course, over here is funny because like he's French, half French, and French speaking, and vessel to them, it's like a plate or something, right? Just a plate, or like
vessel means like to do the like faire la vaisselle means to do the dishes. No. But
I hate doing
which is super goth. Like that makes me cry too, just thinking about having to do the dishes. That's goth as fuck. Like
so it's metaphorical. It's metaphorical. Of course, I definitely angle more towards the darker side of a crying vessel with the bloodshot eyes.
I wasn't sure if it was like a boat. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's another thing. I mean,
I like that one too. That's really cool, Katy. Like that, I picture that kind of like the river Styx or something. This the cry of all the wailing souls on the crying vessel. You have to work that in now.
We don't really say it's this or it's this, and I think this is really nice because this leaves like it. Yeah, everyone can like get its own like picture of
that's the thing. That's the thing, and I think that's how it's anti-pop in that way. And I mean, okay, I'm gonna be the first one to say that in the industry, we both work with a lot of pop artists. He does videos for him. I'm involved as a producer and engineer with loads of major label pop artists. But the way that Crying Vessel is very anti-pop is in the way that it can be open-ended, that you don't know what it is. You don't know really the specific meaning for the video. You don't really know the specific meaning for the lyrics or the sound, but it strikes you something. With pop, it's literally what you see what you have, and that's really how it is most of the time. With the lyrics, with the video, with the visuals, with the press behind it, they give you what you need to know. We're opposite with that. We were definitely anti-pop in that way. Even though the hooks and the song arrangement actually is pop, it's A, B, A, C chorus stuff. It's very anti-pop in that way. We're like, okay, screw it. We're going to do what we love.
Really. We're doing what we love. And that's something we really stick with, I think.
And I think that people reacting to something that you love, you get way more satisfaction out of this because you're putting yourself out there. People are like relating to you in a way that is something we can't put our finger on. It's something that's like in the air. It's something that's in the spiritual world, something that's in the universe, that someone gets you. They get you.
Yeah.
And whether it's from what they experienced in life, what they listened to growing up, there's something there that ties people together. I feel that when you do something from the heart and other people react to that and they can feel what your heart was trying to say, your satisfaction of this is so much more. And the flip side is it's also scary as shit though, because you're totally disposed to everything that's responded. When you take stage singing like this, you have 1,000 people in front of you that you're scared shitless. I'm about to say, it's like opening up your diary on a big screen and saying, this is what I did for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's
playing
terrifying.
live is the most like amazing but also stressful thing. I mean, when we played at Wave Gothic Traffic,
He was like,
yeah, I mean, the
he was a
night,
wreck.
this is a nice story. Yeah, so like all this tension building up, and then like we drove to Leipzig from here, whatever, and then we played there, and there was this tension. It was one of our first.
It was the first
big show, like with 1,000 people. And we played the show. The show was all right, I guess. It was pretty nice. And then the night after, and I noticed that happens actually a lot of time. The night after, like the stress tension leaves, and
he purges.
Yeah, like yeah, the stress just leaves my body.
Do you guys want to quickly give a brief what Wave Gothic? We have a lot of American fans that are watching this that might not know as much what that festival is.
Oh man, it's amazing. And I mean, you drive into the city, and the entire city turns black. Even their trams, like their bus system, they paint black. And everyone, you feel like this family without ever meeting the people. Once again, it's that music thing because everyone's there for this definitive reason.
Yeah, that's Finn's in here yelling at me. You know, actually, there's a good lead-in question. You guys were kind enough to do a remix for my tribute album or my compilation for my cat. It was remixed by Ed of Dead Agent, which I thought that was a really like crackerjack remix. I know you guys you're cat lovers and animal lovers because of that too. So I feel it's important that you tell me about your cat. You know what their names and because we need to know this stuff about your life too. So please, by all means, take as much time as you need to tell me about your cat. There's
so much to say. Oh my God. No, but we have two munchkins. They're super cute. They're brother and sister. The older one is Wolfgang. Wolfgang, yeah. We call him Wolfgang von Templeton. Oh, you should grab that.
Grab this one.
So we'll show you Wolfgang.
Yeah, just tell the name again.
All right, so Wolfgang von Templeton.
That's lovely.
Isn't that amazing?
That was painted by one of my friends in my hometown, actually. She said she was wanting to do it when we asked if anyone could do like an old Renaissance style cat painting. So that's Wolfie, the first one. And then Winifred.
I'm prepared to be a serf to that cat. I will serve in his fields and work underneath that cat as my overlord. And then Wolfie, Wolfie's little sister Winnie is just a fluff. She's half the size. She only weighs 2.3 kilos, so she's like almost 5 pounds. Wow,
super
that's a
tiny.
little cat.
She's very tiny, and she looks like a kitten at all times. It's just adorable. Yeah, I mean, it's a permanent kitten. She's a year and a half old, but she's still like this with a tail that's like, she's like a raccoon. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, they're awesome.
I mean, yeah, you have to tell them the story about you made him sir, right?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I don't know where it is, but...
You got a, like, lordship for your cat?
Yes, he is Lord Wolfgang von Templeton in Scotland. He has a piece of land that's a 10 by 10 foot square piece of land. Yeah, we just thought we thought it was hilarious because of this painting that he actually is a lord and owns land. And I have a certificate and everything.
You need to get him to take a picture and then so you can Photoshop him in, like, lording over his land, you know? Of his plot.
It's awesome. Yeah, no, it's definitely more of a talking piece, you know? Like, it's not like, I mean, yeah, we're definitely cat fans and, like, they're our kids. But, you know, yeah. I mean, me and my wife, we look at them like kids, as most people are that are cat lovers.
I know how that is. So, all right, I suppose let's move back to music. you guys, I'm really excited for. You're getting ready to put out this new album. It's with kind of, to me, like a big deal of a legendary goth label in Cleopatra.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, in the 90s, I just wrote a piece about this. Before there was the internet or music review pages, you know, I mean, there were zines and things like that. There wasn't a Spotify or a way to just tell you, because you like this band, you'll like this band. Yeah. And so what people would do instead is I would go out to the record store as soon as I'd get my paycheck or my allowance or whatever, and look for the latest Cleopatra sampler. Metropolitus, or, you know, I mean, there was a lot of labels like that, but that just, the only thing you could do is trust the label to kind of tell you, hey, here's the new thing you might be into. And for me, Cleopatra was the biggest one of those. So being on this label and kind of how you said the resurgence that goth has been feeling lately, what does it mean to you to be putting out this record here? And tell me a little bit about everything that you have going on with Cleopatra.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, it was a surprise. I was on my honeymoon, actually. I, of course, am just like you. I always knew Cleopatra. I was really into Gary Newman. Actually, it's funny. Dean was on an album that was called Hybrid, which I think that they put out. And, you know, I always knew Cleopatra. I'm on honeymoon and I come back in. We were in Thailand. And I get an email and it said Brian Pereira. And I go, I know that name. And then I look at the email and it said Brian at Cleo Rec. And I go, no way. And I Googled it to make sure that this wasn't a spam or someone trying to act like him.
Right.
Because I was like, Cleo Rec? I mean, are you sure? And yeah, it was him. And it was literally just one sentence saying, hey, so I really love what you guys are doing. Do you want to do a remix for us? I found out it was from the singer of Hawkwind, which I grew up loving. Hawkwind. It's not out yet. Is Robert Calvert, the singer. He passed away, and he was very close friends with Brian, I found out. So I said, yeah, of course. After I did the remix, I mean, as soon as I got back, I got the remix done. Then they put us on to do a little small change and then said, hey, and we saw that, you know, you have a new album that you're working on. So then I was like, and I was just freaking. I was like, okay, this is cool. This is like a childhood dream, really. I mean, that's really cool. So we sent it over, and I mean, they responded within like 2 hours. He immediately put us in with the A&R, immediately put us in with Benny is his name, and Benny's awesome. Yeah. He's our A&R there now. Then they said and I said, well, hey, I'm coming to Los Angeles actually for NAMM. I'm there with another company I work with in the audio world. What are you guys up to? And he said, let's meet up. Let's get dinner. So then I went to dinner with Brian, his wife, and Benny, and we talked about it, you know, before the signing and stuff, just talked about the album and everything. And then they want to work with us, not only with the record deal that's going on now, but we're doing a future endeavor together as a development. It's an exciting thing for us. Yeah. And we're not just like in and out, which is cool. And Benny's just killing it for us. He's doing great. Ken is now, he's doing the PR stuff, helping us with that and the distribution stuff. And then Brian, I mean, what an amazing guy. Like this guy, I mean, he's like friends with Iggy Pop and all these legends. And you would never know when you talk to him, you know, he's not like this, I'm higher, Right. I mean, then they're emailing once in this line to some I would say no-name band for someone like him. No-name band, you know, because he likes our music. Like that's.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we were in the studio for the Illusions EP, we were like kind of talking about like proper album, and then should we put it out via like Zoe, and then you said like, yeah, maybe we should do it. Maybe we should hit up Cleopatra, but I mean, it might be too big, and we were, and then they came to us, and this is just amazing.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, because I did say it. I said, I was like, you know, maybe we should go to Cleo or something. And I was like, but you know, I mean, we're not that big yet. I don't think they're even going to listen to it. You know, that kind of thing. And I mean, and I have to say too, the label we were with is amazing too. Manic Depression, and JL is another god. He's amazing. Seriously. And we thank him from the bottom of our heart for everything. There was no bad blood moving on, you know, and I mean, I've been involved with his label doing his mastering too. So like, you know, we have a bond anyhow, and JL's just amazing. He's still releasing just so much good stuff. Between Manic Depression and Cold Transmission, I mean, come on, like these are the best people in the scene. So the thing is, we want to always continue our relationship with them. Andreas and Susie from Cold Transmission too, like it doesn't matter what label we get on or if we're doing this with Cleopatra. How we saw it too is that I'm American. It's been hard for us to tour there. We had like 15 dates lined up a couple years ago that fell through because he couldn't get a visa. It's a market for us. To keep being with a European-based label, it's hard for us to access our market and fans over there as easy. Clio just had this whole book of things they want to do with us. That was really exciting. So, it's no bad blood where we came from.
Yeah.
We're remaining moving forward, and
No, I mean, and I think most labels understand that well too. Bands need different things from labels, and different types of labels can provide different resources for you. I think that's just it. Is take, like you said, like Andy and Susie, and that's how we met, was over at the Cold Transmission Festival and you playing there. And I mean, there is just this real sense of, if what you want as a band is to feel a part of a family, feel a part of, being lifted up, and Susie calling to check in on you at 1 a.m. or whatever when you're out on the road, or that's who they are.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of bands need. But sometimes more what you're looking for, if it's in markets or distribution or chances to do other things, I mean, that might not be them. And I don't think those labels hold any bad blood to bands that want to do that in the same way as labels have to make decisions like that. So no, I think that's terrific.
What was funny too is, like, that day before the meeting, which I was very nervous actually. I do a lot of meetings and met a lot of people, but I was very nervous about the Cleopatra meeting. That day at NAMM, which people that don't know what NAMM is, it's like a huge audio conference. So anyone that's like engineers, producers, musicians, guitarists and stuff, biggest in the world, you go there and everyone's there. Then this girl comes bopping by wearing a Cleopatra shirt, and she hands me a sticker and a thing for Cleopatra Entertainment the day I was actually going to meet them. And I was like, okay, this is a calling in disguise. This is crazy. Like, if someone was to believe in fate, this would be like, it's just crazy,
I feel that it's safe to say that you made a lot of good decisions when honing in on your sound, that you do these things and you love doing them and that's why you do it, but other people really pick up on that because of the communication between the artist and the listener. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, in 2010, you were kind of front runners for this sound, and it kind of revived the whole scene. What gave you inspiration to play what you play?
That's a crazy question, because it's funny. There's an EP that I released called Broken Hearts. I think it's called Broken Hearts. It was only 3 songs, and this is in 2011 or 2010, and it was super 80s throwback retro wave. And this is before that scene was ever coming back right now. There were some people doing it, I think. But I mean, it was straight 80s. And it's just because I love 80s. I absolutely love 80s music. And I love the dark 80s. I just said, it was one of those screw it attitudes. I said, I'm going to make stuff that I love. And I'm going to, even if at that point I felt like I was ripping off my inspirations a bit too much, I'm going to do this, it's a growing pain, but I'm going to do this. No reception at all. I mean, it was a bit maybe too ahead, and like, I was doing nothing. Like he said, until he told me, like, you need to take this live, it's too good. You have to, like, before that, I didn't give a shit. And I mean, I honestly, like I said, it's my hobby pit, my passion pit. I'm busy full time as a musician. Anyhow, I need something that takes me away from that. And
it was really dark. Trip hoppy. I mean, what we do now is way less trip hoppy. I mean, it's still.
No, I'm talking about the EP though. There was one EP that was super 80s, and then he's right, and then it went super into trip hop. And there's even a track that I did with Rose Berlin that sounded exactly what Billie Eilish does now. And this is in 2011. What a mess you made.
Yeah, you can
go to YouTube, type in "Crying Vessel, What a Mess You Made," and it's Dean Garcia's daughter singing. Dean played bass on it with me. Super trip hop vibes, but it's actually, if you listen, it's Billie Eilish gone a little bit more goth and experimental. And this in 2011, 2012. I'm not trying to say like I was paving the way for shit here. I'm not saying I'm paving the way for shit here. I'm saying there's something that was weird that I tied into something and it never happened. And then now it's, it's weird.
I mean, I think going along with that too, I mean, maybe it was something that was just a bit on the air, because I mean, goth music is, like we talked about a couple times, making like a real resurgence, or dark wave, or like you said, like, '80s wave. I hear things like this though, like say like Billie Eilish or Poppy just did an album that, to me, I mean, that was one of the best industrial albums I've heard in a minute too, you know? I mean, and I know it's like goofy, weird, but I mean, look, it's fucking good. I'm sorry, like there's no two ways about it. Like the production, the quality level, and even the concept of it is fucking cool. And, you know, I feel that a lot of people trash on Billie Eilish of like, you know, she's not hardcore enough or some bullshit, but you know what? It's just good fucking music. Like,
it's really good.
She's amazing. I like listening to it. Like, she's talented, you know? Yeah. Do you feel like there's something that in general, like the world's soul, because of the way things are right now, or the stress of the universe that's happening all around us with fucking COVID and race relations and everything, I mean, do you think that this plays an option where just everyday people are more open to the concept of a darker kind of music or goth like that, and that's what plays a factor?
I actually have thought about that a lot, and I really do feel like it's a lot to do with where the world is at, to kind of look for something a bit out of the mold.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of friends that aren't like specifically in the goth scene and that really dig our music and also the new album, and they're like, I think
it's really, and all of us that have been sitting there for a while, we're just like, hey, welcome. Yeah, we've been here for 20 years, but you can come on in. I mean, that's the cool thing about this side of the industry is we love everyone. Yeah, so I mean, I totally agree. I think that there is something, because for instance, I was talking to my friend the other night at dinner, and he asked, how does someone make dark art and dark music like this? And he's a singer-songwriter, one of my best friends, singer-songwriter, and you know, he's a lot more involved with pop and hip-hop and stuff like this. And he's like, how can someone get that dark? And I know the moment, I know the minute it happened for me. And it's when I was in 6th grade, and I remember my dad picking me up from school because my mom was dying from a heart attack. And I remember something like flipped, and I was I was at that fragile age, you know, something snapped just enough that I started reaching for this darkness that kind of made me feel whole again. It's a weird thing. It's like it cut a hole, and then that hole started getting bigger and bigger, and I had to fill it with the darkness that was happening. My mom's still alive, by the way, and she's very healthy and awesome. She did have a heart attack, and she's had like 17 heart stents. Yeah. So, you know, that messed with me as a young kid. And then you start kind of, I think that there's always kind of these trigger moments for people, and then they start kind of seeking for that. And right now, like you said, the world as a whole is forced to experience some of this. And then they have the accessibility to go find something that's making them relate in a way. You know, the funny thing is, I think I read about this on Spotify. A lot of the stuff that's the highest streamed again right now during the COVID was, I believe it was 70s and retroactive like stuff, things that people wanted to pull for good memories too. So, you know, it works both sides. There's like a hole that needs to be filled with maybe some darkness that's going on, but there's also a bit of this kind of retro thing that they're reaching for something from the past, which is right where goth lays. Or lies. Lays or lies. Past tense of lay.
No, I think that's a great point.
We've gone through this.
I mean, I don't know,
it's an inside joke.
And as somebody who's pretty known for being a happy-go-lucky person, but I'm the singer of a goth band still, you know? Yeah. But I mean, so like our lyrics are dark, but I get it. I mean, that's not who I am all the time. But a lot of times when I am feeling really down or dark, I like to throw on like the Swans or the Sisters of Mercy or something like that. Not because, I don't know, to me it's so much to relate to, but when I hear the Swans and I hear them talking about the sinking lead weights of failure and shit, I'm like, you know what? I thought I had some shit going on, but whatever it is, it's not that. So I guess I'm okay. I feel better. I feel very uplifted by listening to the most depressing shit in the universe.
That is a good way to look at it too, or a dark way of looking at it. But yes, that is exactly right.
It can be both.
I don't know how this kind of, I mean, because I'm a huge like fan of dark music, and it kind of has always been that way. I mean, I'm not gonna go too deep. My parents divorced, and I had like the best childhood. Like everyone can say that, but like with like a lot of mobbing and stuff. And I think I was always like pulled towards dark music. My dad is French, so this.
That says enough right there.
That's all right there. Smoke cigarettes. alleyways and red wine. And, no, I understand.
Yeah. So no, but I want to go somewhere else.
You're saying
there is this this band. It goes from like French bands like Noir Désir, pardon. I mean, of course, with that whole story, yeah, I always like going to festivals in the French part of Switzerland, and always digging like the bands that were like in that corner as well, and has always like been like that way. So yeah.
When you guys are talking about dark music, I know that you just gave a few examples of like some of the French music that was like that. What are like specifically are you talking about? Because dark music, I feel like, is such a broad topic. You could be talking about things like Nine Inch Nails, or you could be talking about things like Elliott Smith. And I guess, what are you pulling from?
Mine's definitely Depeche Mode, Gary Newman, Sister Mercy. You hear it. I wear it on my sleeve. I mean, in the music and everything. But I also, though, I got raised on Jean-Michel Jarre. I got raised on Tangerine Dream, Klaus Schulze, a lot of German electronics, Kraftwerk, of course. My dad's a music nut, so he like kind of molded me to who I am. My biggest love was Typo Negative. I mean, I have the tattoo here. I mean, that was 16 when I got that. And when Peter Steele died, well, the first time when he faked his death was also scary. But then when he actually did die, that was shitty, you know? That was like one of those times I actually was like, wow. You know, like I felt that. It's like when Prince died. That was messed up. I think we all felt that resonate. So yeah, I mean that's my inspiration. I wear it on my sleeve. With you, he's actually really into also.
Yeah, I mean,
trip hop and stuff too. I mean,
trip hop, electronic music. I mean, when we started, I was more into like electronic music, techno stuff, and I kind of discovered like a lot of things through Slade, of course, and through this project. And I'm actually like really digging more and more into this world, which is so huge and so exciting to discover. Because, I mean, the same goes with like the whole goth scene. I mean, when we started, I didn't know anything about the goth scene. I was like everyone, like, oh, they're wearing dark clothes, and oh, what is their political view, and oh my god, and then I kind of like, it was a huge like slap to my face actually, to see all those awesome people in this awesome scene that is so loving and tender to us. So it's great every day.
I think a lot of people get surprised at that, for sure. Like just how different the goth people and people in that scene are versus maybe what your expectations are going in. Sure.
And a lot of them are like camouflage, you know. I mean, even myself, I mean, I got Typo Negative on my arm. I wore mascara my whole life. I wore, you know, girls' skinny jeans, and like I had 4 belts and like all this throughout high school in the middle of Kansas, mind you. So trust me, it was not the easiest thing. But you know, I had maybe a couple friends that were kind of in the same scene, and even already just this kind of thing. And once I started getting into like Dean and that circle and the shoegaze scene and like the other goths and all this stuff that's the dark music side of the industry, like he said, the warming like embrace that can happen is unheard of. And still this day, 20 years later of being in the industry, that's the one side of the industry I can safely say, not only are they loving and caring and embracing and supportive, but they're so supportive that they are single-handedly still buying records. They're still buying CDs, shirts. They come to your shows and they support you. They walk away with a piece of you. You can't find that in any other scene right now. There's no other scene doing that.
I agree.
So that's something we should all be proud of. Everyone in the scene and people that are just getting seen and people that are not even in the scene but may want to get in the scene, that's something that we should all be proud of and really stand behind. The fact that we're able to do that's just awesome, you know.
I'm getting misty just thinking about it. Like that was a beautiful.
Well, don't let your mascara run.
You know, I didn't paint up today. I might do it later. You know, we'll see what happens.
I love it, man. I love it. I've seen so many good photos. Me and Sarah were just checking them out because that's what I love about you. For instance, like you are a singer of a goth band and everything, but yet you are the funniest freaking person on Facebook, and your posts, man, just What? Like,
It's hard to
Sarah
take
and I-
me too seriously, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's so good, man. So good. Sorry, I flipped the interview around there. So, Ken,
Oh,
tell
that's
me
okay.
about
Like when I met you there at the Cold Transmission Festival over in Germany, okay? I know this is going to be hard for me to talk about. I'm going to get emotional. Seeing live music again. You have your new album that's coming out on Clio, and eventually you're going to get a chance to tour for it, and you're going to get a chance to play shows. What would be your dream tour that you'd like to do? Like where you'd like to play, and who would be your dream lineup to play with?
Man, that's hard.
Yeah,
I
it's a
mean,
very hard question.
definitely opening for some of the greats that are in our circle. I mean, of course, The Cure. I mean, that would be
Sure,
awesome.
that
I think we would fit.
Fucking awesome.
I think we fit the bill opening for The Cure, Depeche Mode really easily. But it's not even about that as much as I just think getting out to more places overall.
Yeah, like
America,
what's an untapped market that you guys have never been that you just say to yourself, I would just love to go play for these people and see this culture?
that's hard to say. I mean, I want to
I'd go by
definitely.
who.
Yeah,
I mean, if there's, I mean, I have never been, like, for example, Japan. If our sound,
That would be
if our
awesome.
sound ever like grabs into that market and we
That would
will
be
be
cool,
able
yeah.
to play in Japan, it would be amazing. And of course,
Yeah.
Oh,
I've never been into the United States, so I really would love to go there just as a fact of
Yeah.
being there, you know.
you
need to
never
bring
brought
him-
Basil. Bring him over to Detroit. I will get you guys shows in Detroit and Chicago. Get that over to Detroit and
I
Chicago.
think that's the first thing. We already talked to Cleopatra about it at the meeting, actually, once things are open again. That was before the
Yeah.
big close down. But
Right.
that's probably the first thing we're doing to tour to support the album is to get to America. Like I said, we had almost 15 dates at one point 2 years ago lined up. Bookings were coming in, everything, and we couldn't get him a visa. I talked to a lawyer in New York. We were trying. They started telling him that he'd have to come over on his own as a high-end performer, as a drummer. Then they told me since I'm American, I need to pick up an American drummer, which is bullshit. Like, he's the other half. Like,
Yeah, maybe at that point
Right.
we weren't in
Yeah.
a band that long,
yeah.
and now we like this whole thing evolved a bit more, and I think now
It'll be easier because of Cleopatra
Of
too.
course,
I mean,
of course.
they know some people. They said, you know,
Right.
like this kind of thing. I mean, because now we have an employer that can support, you know, like it's different when we were with the European label doing European circuit with American with the European drummer. So yeah, definitely America. That's the first place we're going, and we will definitely have to play with you.
I'm
With
a
your
hold
band,
you
of
then.
course. Yeah, we will do that.
It's such a bizarre stipulation that you had to potentially change your bandmate.
So it's so common that I have friends that are studio musicians that do live tours for people like Katy Perry and stuff, and it's because they don't want to go through the visa process for their band members. So they actually go there for 3 months. They do the rehearsals with the new studio musicians, and that becomes the band. They were trying to think that since I'm American, it doesn't matter that I'm in a duo even. Like we were at that point starting to write together, so it became a band. And they didn't give a shit. The employer, the lady said that the visa services will see it as you being American. Therefore, it's easy for you to just use an American drummer or another person to replace him. There's no reason why you can't do that. And I was like, this is crazy. And then what they do still to this day is they have you prove your worth with flyers that cannot be online. They will not look at YouTube. They will not look at videos. They have to see actual physical flyers of you playing different places, which, I mean, how many bands are collecting flyers after their shows and like putting them in their bus and saying, okay, cool, we need this for a visa someday. It's crazy. It's bizarre.
Get the lamination machine out of the overhead bin over in the van so that we can save this shit.
I don't know if every venue makes flyers anymore.
I know. It's
Right.
too. I mean, come on. There's like event pages and stuff. So, and they won't look at that. They won't look at a printed event page, none of this. And I had to prove that we were playing, and the lawyer said those won't work. So this is common. It just happened with what band was it? It wasn't Rammstein. It was actually not KMFDM, but another band that was supposed to be on tour with them in America, I believe. But anyhow, they went through hell and back, and they couldn't get a visa, and they're known. Like, this is a big band from Germany, and half the band they couldn't give them visas. Like,
I know Ash Code went through a really hard time on that, and I had to like write a letter to the U.S. Import Bureau or whatever, explaining that they were big, worthwhile, good band that they should be allowed into the country. And I had to get it like notarized and stuff. It was crazy.
Y'all have been doing this for a minute. What were some of your fondest memories from shows outside of the shows that you've already talked about, maybe?
One was meeting.
Yeah. That's a good one.
And she's probably gonna be watching this too when we post it. But one was
one.
yeah. This one. Oh, you have another one. You can do the other one. No, it's really cool. This girl was too young to get in and had to bring her dad to come see us. She came up to the merch booth and talked to the merch people. Were saying that she wanted a CD, blah blah, and that she's banned all this. So they were giving her this, and they came up and told us in the green room that they have her stuff below the table to come down and surprise her because she's getting it after the show. So we just went down, and I mean, we were just standing there. She's 16, 15-year-old girl comes around the corner with her dad, and she just started crying. I mean, it struck us so much. And I mean,
yeah,
that was one of the most humbling moments.
Most humbling moment I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
And I was that age. and I was listening to Newman and stuff. And I mean, I know that feeling. I remember meeting Gary Newman. This is a funny story. When I was 15, and I was out in the parking lot, like freaking out when I just got to say hi to him, like that kind of thing. And I knew that feeling, and to have that on the reciprocating end, that meant a lot to both of us. So, the only thing I could do is just thank her. And I turned to her dad and said, I hope to be as badass of a father as you are someday for my daughter when she wants to go see her favorite band at a goth show. That's awesome that he's supporting this. She's awesome. So we've kept up with her. I mean, we even posted about her and stuff. Like
just like relativates like everything. I mean, because I mean, we're those guys living our lives, like doing the music that we love and playing shows, and then something like this happens, and you're like, oh, wow, okay, it really has impact and a purpose, and we're really doing this not only for us but also for other people, and this is just crazy. Yeah.
What was the one that you were going to say?
I mean, we posted that on Instagram a few days ago. Maybe you've seen it, but I mean, the day that we played at a pretty big show, and
Extra.
The Extra, and Slade was actually in the morning that we played that show. He had
I was in the
emergency room, like on IV and everything. and I mean, he called me and I'm not sure if we can play this show.
He was literally getting ready to load up, and I go, I am in the emergency room. No, Sarah called even. So my wife was calling saying, he's in the emergency room. He's on an IV right now. Like he's having a gastric attack. And I ended up having to have surgery. They took my gallbladder out and everything. But that morning I was on an IV for about 5 hours until it was 2 p.m. And we were supposed to be there at like 3 or 4. And it was a 2-hour drive. And it was a sold out show at Extra with VMV Nation. So it was a big show. I was telling the doctor, how long do I need to be on this shit? I have to get to a show. Just, I feel better now. Can you please, and they give me more pain meds? Yeah, and I can do it. And I mean, so they put me in the van, and I'm just sitting there munching on bread in the back seat, just like, and like literally Band-Aids all over me. I looked like I hadn't slept for a week. And I went straight to the green room, also laid down. Then took stage, and I mean,
it was one of our best shows.
It was one of our best shows, and this is the weirdest thing. I had a revelation. I was so exhausted and so tired, and I felt horrible, and I was still in pain, and I was already sweating before I even took stage. But as soon as I walked out, and there was like this halo of purple light on the microphone, perfectly sat there, and our intro was playing, and the sub was hitting. And you step out to 1,000 people sold out, like cheering and everything. That feeling, and every signature went bam, and it was gone for the hour set. And the second I walked back off of the stage, it came whoop, and I felt shit again, and was like, okay, I need to lay back down. Like, this is crazy. So it's weird, man. It's like that hour of like, you can be as sick as that and still like perform, and then step back off and step right back into that bubble of hell.
I mean, the energy of that many people when it hits you like that, and like you said, the adrenaline kicks in, and you can have all that energy. And hell, you probably even looked a lot like a vampire at that point.
Yeah, I always kind of do. Anyhow, there's these circles, like they're just kind of there. I haven't been getting enough blood lately, so it's like kind of getting darker and darker. But I'll feed tonight. It's okay.
So going back to something we said way back at the beginning of the interview here, this came up. We were interviewing Jared Lusch and Martin King from Dog Tablet, which was awesome. That was a lot of fun and a great interview. And one of the things that came up, does a certain like pair of shoes or something like that help you get the right vocal take when you're recording? I mean, shoes is better because I'm trying to prove this point scientifically by asking all artists this, but any accoutrements which you must have in order to get your perfect vocal performance. Like you said, you can't razzmatazz that David Bowie sound unless you have this thing when you go into the booth.
Oh man, there's so many things because I'll be open about it. I suffer from OCD really bad. So my entire day is a ritual. When I hit the vocal booth, it's actually the most chaotic out of anything. And mainly because since I'm an engineer too, I'm always trying to run in there and like, hey, can you, and then he's doing record for me. He's always helping me too with the recording. Hey, can you do this? And then he's like, dude, just go back in the booth.
I got this.
I got this. You don't need to be freaking out like this. I think it's always that moment that he says that is my saving grace. I got this. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be a control freak. You don't have to control the situation. Just sing. And then at that point I can. I don't have shoes or anything, but I got kind of a life coach, I guess.
Okay. I mean, I guess that counts too. I mean, any ritual, I think is truthful.
Yeah.
What about you though? What about you? He has a ritual before stage shows.
True. Before shows, I just like do a lot of push-ups. That really helps me getting warm. And I don't know, he finds that so funny. But I mean,
he's like literally doing the gym before we get on stage. He's doing
hilarious.
Push-ups, jumping jacks, running up and down stairs, like going back, like going like he looks like Rocky Balboa. Like, hey!
No, but actually, yeah, now I couldn't do it. Fun thing, I broke my elbow 8 weeks ago. Yeah. So just during Corona.
Oh, geez.
Tell them how you broke it and how you told me when you came in. He comes in, he goes, dude, and I could see it in his face in the hallway. He's like, dude.
True. Okay, I came here just after.
And he goes, man, I think I broke my arm. I go, yeah, right, dude. And he comes in and he goes, no, bro, I was pumping. And I go, what's pumping? He goes, I fell and I broke my arm. And I found out that he was on a skateboard. Like this is like
in a pump track, right?
In a pump track, like choom, choom, choom. And he literally did. And he went to the emergency room like right after and he had a broken arm.
Funny thing, then I had like a checkup 2 weeks ago. And I mean, it wasn't that hard. I didn't have to like do any surgeries or whatever. And but anyhow, then the doctor 2 weeks ago said, okay, yeah, we did this radio now, and so it's good now. You told me that you're a drummer, right? So yeah, I think now you could like start to play like some jazz and like some very soft thing. And I was like, oh, what, really? I mean, I already like played the whole set.
He's like played the whole set
four times. Like we already rehearsed like since 3 weeks. So yeah,
and he's a powerhouse drummer. He's like literally a metal drummer gone wave.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
No, by the way, we were definitely going E-drum on the hats and stuff for those smaller venues now. It's just so much shred, you know. It's crazy.
What do you think is the greatest gift that you've received from music, and what advice do you have for people that are starting their own bands?
Dang, that's
coming with the deep shit right there.
Yeah, that's
end of the interview, so I'm just gonna go for it.
You can go first if you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to understand the question. Like what I understand it correctly. What I get out of music in general, right? I mean, music is all about a live mood. I don't know if you guys have that. If you're listening to music that you listened a while back, that you have, I always have like those pieces of music I'm listening during a period of time, and then when I'm listening back to that music or again, like a whole set of a mood, set of a whole like way of living comes back, rushes through my body. Like this is actually crazy thing. I think that's a pretty common thing, but I mean, I really have that strongly. For me, music is really like, I have those tracks that go with me for a little like period of time of my life, and then it like gets replaced by other things. And I think it's a really like, it's a like something that
entwined with your memories, kind of.
Yeah, and it's going with my life, and it's really a huge support. And
it's like a soundtrack for you.
It's for me, yeah, exactly.
Film guy,
yeah, maybe.
And what was the second question? It was,
what advice do you have for people starting their
advice
own?
for
just have as much fun as you can. Like, just take it away. And maybe not your first band's gonna be, don't really think about like fame or whatever. Just play music, get good at what you love, and yeah, make it yours.
No, I think music for me it's really it's a lot more honest than looking into the mirror. And when you put yourself out and you see yourself either on the pen and paper in front of you with the lyrics, or you hear the melody and the way that you delivered it, or you hear the synth line or guitar you did, and then you have this world that you've created out of nothing, you kind of can see yourself in a different way than any other possible reflection. I think that kind of reflection, though, it's as enjoyable and like philosophical as it also is torture. I think that's what keeps you going, though. I think that's what keeps you going, is because you're running from the kind of torture that you just created, and you just keep pushing and pushing to get to the next one, and figuring out, you're not going to ever feel complete unless you find that perfect note, that perfect melody, and you're just not going to. There's no such thing. That's that torture, it keeps you running from it. You're searching for perfection, and this might go back to my OCD thing, but I'm always searching for perfection, and I know I never will find it. I never will. Music to me is the constant seeking to find comfort, I guess. It's the constant seeking to find comfort. And I'll be comforted on a song for maybe a couple of weeks. I'll be comfortable on a song maybe for a couple of years. But, you're constantly going to try and find that new pillow. Your other pillow might have got old and it kind of lost the fluff. You've tried to fluff up the track a few more times on stage, whatever. Eventually you're going to have to buy a new pillow. You're going to have to find that new pillow find your comfortable place. That's where I find my peace, is through the speakers. Then when it comes to bands and where they're at, and especially in this crazy world nowadays, I think Basil said it best. I think that you just have to love what you're doing. And the more that you love what you're doing, I think other people are going to know that right off the bat. It's very easy to see through the ones that are doing it for the wrong reasons. One thing too is to just be humble. One thing that I always noticed growing up, to having tastes of success here and there, to, also failures here and there and stuff like this, you always see the people talking, and it's always the people talking that are not actually doing shit. The people that are talking, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, they usually aren't. If you have to have that motivation to once again be that reflection that you're looking for, tell that to yourself. Let the music speak. Let your talents speak. Let your heart and your passions speak. Keep doing what you love, and other people are going to relate to you. I think that's actually where we meet. We both do it for the right reason, and we always will. I mean, I've had my taste of touring the world as a DJ. I had my taste of this whole fame crap, and I had my taste of doing this whole thing, and I never ever felt like I was doing it for the money. I never felt like I was doing it for fame. I never felt like I was doing it for anything else, but just because.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back, I think it's really why we're where we are at right now is because we're not putting everything on that card. We're both are doing like stuff. I mean, on our sides, we're both like, it started more as a hobby, like just practicing, and now it's getting way more serious, of course. But still, I don't feel that much pressure.
Yeah, I mean, and we're under literally like a 3-album progressive deal with one of the biggest labels, and it still doesn't feel like pressure. So I think that's
awesome.
Yeah, and that's hard to find,
Yeah.
And I mean, every day I'm dealing with artists and labels and everything on the outside as producer and engineer, and trust me, it's pure pressure. It's like, we need the track yesterday, this kind of shit. We need that mix now, and that like literally drives me absolutely nuts. But this is still our getaway. And I mean, it's a career path for us too. I mean, yeah, we sell merch. Yeah, we sell songs and stuff. All that does for us is lets us keep going because it allows us to get cooler merch, which we have some cool merch coming, by the way. So I'm not saying what it is, but it's very cool. No one's ever done it. But we do have some cool stuff coming soon. But, you know, it's that kind of stuff. We do it because we love it. I mean, it's conceptualized. It's art. It's freaking art. I mean, that's what it is. It's freaking art. Do you think Van Gogh did any of his paintings to sell? No, because he never did sell one. He did it because he loves it. And I think those are the real artists.
See, I feel like you're holding too many secrets, whether it's about the merch or this song or that song. I do have one last thing that to me is really important to ask about. And it's that I've mentioned before that, like, to me, your songs have kind of a narrative to them, and that tying it together conceptually is important for you. You have something else, non-song related, coming out that I think is really, really exciting, is you have a novel, a book that's coming out that's a horror novel. Please tell me a little bit about this, but I think also, so that it relates in, this ties into your whole Crying Vessel universe, right? And these things aren't in a vacuum of each other. They're connected. Talk to me a little bit about, A, how you're excited about the novel, but B, how this ties back to your music.
It's really funny. When I started working on the book really heavily, well, first off, let's go back. The reason why I started that novel, he was there in the bus coming back from Berlin. We had a gig, and I was so burnt out that I was flipping at everyone. You can ask me. I was a mess. I was crying hysterically. I was flipping and yelling at everyone. I flipped at our sound guy. I flipped at him. Flipped at his brother. Flipped at the video guy. Like the whole team, I was just losing it. And I was so burnt out that I go, I need something that's not music. Something that I can dive into that's not music. And I told him in the car, I'm going to write a book.
He's sitting back in the back of the car, and they were like, maybe like even crying.
I was crying. I had literally
maybe I should just write a book. And everyone in the car was like, yeah, you should do that.
And I came back home, and I actually, within a week, I went to the store, got a whole bunch of sticky tabs. I had the story. Like I've always had it in my head. I've always written. I've always loved it. It took almost 3 years. It went from once again as a passion pit thing, but suddenly there's like interest. I had like a publisher that was already looking at it. Then I all of a sudden got an illustrator that works with Crying Vessel named Fabio. He's actually amazing. Fabio Rincones. He's from Venezuela. He did the Second Sleep video with us, the sculptures. He does a lot. He did the Illusions cover. Amazing sculptor. Yeah, and he's doing some of our merch stuff now. He did all the illustrations in the book, so that's awesome. The world, though, the universe that came from this, it's really funny because it started actually playing off each other so much it freaked me out. The Illusions EP, there's a song called All That Is Real. The lyrics, a lot of people don't know this, but the lyrics are directly from the chapter I was working on at that time in the novel.
Wow, that's really cool.
It talks about the forest and the silhouettes surrounding me. I mean, this kind of stuff is like inside the novel. The other flip side that's cool about this novel is that it's not just a book. When you get done reading it, we create an augmented reality world. So like once the book finishes, you have a login. It takes place at a ward. You have a login to go online and see video and hear audio and tapes from the book. I had voice actors do them.
Dude.
Then I wrote a score that's for the book, not as Crying Vessel, but just as a score that I sing on one of the tracks even to take content, and it has to do with the chapters. And this is for the limited edition with a QR code. So like you buy the limited edition, then you're able with the QR code to get access to a 7-track score to the book. This kind of world started coming alive, and it's extremely tied to Crying Vessel because a lot of the content that comes into the album and stuff is there. Someone even just said, a journalist guy just said on a comment that it looked like he actually got a glimpse of the book, and this is why, but he said it looks like we're in the lobby to the ward that's in the book. And that's not what we meant it for at all. There's also the ghost of Helen that's in the book and all this stuff. And that also, that's Lilith that's in the photo. Like it's supposed to be a representation of Lilith in the cover, but it's still this ghost figure of the female. And like that's directly in the book. So there's a lot of world tied together, but I think that's how it is with any author. But I'm super stoked on it, and I didn't think it'd become something, and now it's crazy. Like, I mean, we have a publisher, it's going worldwide, it's on hardback, paperback, ebook. It's just crazy, and it took 15 people to make that book.
What's the title of the book, and is it out, or can you pre-order it? Where can you get it?
So you can go to sladetempleton.com. There's a little bit of stuff about music there too, but it's mainly my author site. But it's pre-ordered July 7th and it's out October 2nd, right in time for Halloween, my favorite month too.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's going to be a gift from me to me that I will go sign up for.
That's dude.
Exactly where I'm at too.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm stoked on it, and I just didn't ever think it would actually be something that wouldn't see the light of day.
That really,
I mean,
like the idea of writing as an author to the next level, and that's very, very impressive, just in its concept. And I'm sure that I'm going to be even more impressed when I actually see the whole thing too.
Yeah, well, you want to know something that's really funny is my publisher. I had 3 editors on this book, and the reason why, and they all said the same thing, is that I wrote too lyrically, and my way of writing was extremely lyrical. There's a lot of similes that I was using, and I do that when I sing all the time, and it works in lyrical sense to say,
sure.
Like there's a line that's in the book, that says like, the arms hung from the body like pendulums of suit and flesh. That's like one of the only lines that they actually let me keep in there that's a simile. The rest they like broke down and said, okay, this is too lyrical. If you want the reader to come up with their own world, that's not always a good thing. You have to deliver to them exactly what needs to be said. It's not like writing a song. So this kind of, I mean, the editors that kept getting their hand in really helped me nail where this book needs to be. And I mean, it is strong now. And it's really, really crazy though that as a musician, you realize even when you try and do something like writing, it just becomes a song, a 70,000 word song, but it's a 70,000 word song to me still. But yeah, to the reader, it won't be. Let's hope not. But they can go listen to the songs, then it becomes that. But,
well, it makes, given that you said that you like the Divine Comedy so much, that you would write things in like almost a ballad-like format or very, very metaphorical and like simile-based language and stuff.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is the most humbling experience, because it's not like having a song and like you have someone say, hey, let's change the chorus or let's change the synth. When you send your book in and an editor's on it, they will literally rip it apart on certain parts. And it's things that you poured your heart out. And like we were talking about, it becomes like a song for 70,000 words. It was like almost a diary at some points. And they were just like, this makes no sense. Why is he doing this? We have to talk about this, and it makes you just go, and it makes you just want to scream. And then you go, okay. And then you listen, you do it. And that change becomes so powerful for the story that you're like, oh, wow. So, I mean, it was like a boot camp writing this thing. It was a spiritual boot camp.
All right. So this has been wonderful talking with both you guys. I'm so excited for everything that you have going in the future, this new album, the book coming out, all of it. I think, like you guys said, as 2 people that strike me as very humble and appreciative of all the success that you've had. It could not have happened to 2 nicer folks, and I'm really excited for where it's going to take you in the future. Oh yeah, lean back for a second. Slade, because you're rocking a Sounds and Shadows t-shirt, see, so that's pretty dope. You got, there you go. That's exciting.
I had to, man. That's what I'm talking about, support.
It's been great, and I can't wait to put this out. Everybody, I highly recommend, if you haven't done so yet, go back. I'll post in the reviews that I did. I did a written interview with Slade previously, but I have a review of 2 different Crying Vessel albums that you really need to hear. This is one of those bands that I think is making goth exciting and beautiful and romantic again. And we need more of that. And I look forward to everything that you guys do.
Thank you so much for having us. Both you and Katy both. Thank you so much. Like from our heart.
This is Sounds and Shadows signing off. And since Colin isn't here, I guess I will say, keep it dark, yo.
body starts to sweat. Ouch, like a slash to the cheek. I know this feeling all too